Next, on the Los Angeles area wildfires, more than 80,000 people still under evacuation orders.
The search for human remains and the clearing of hazardous materials continues.
The raw emotion of coming back to nothing.
That was our kitchen.
Rubble and ash where a home once stood.
It's just gone. Everything is just gone.
All around them, not a house still standing.
We know these people, and these people have lost everything. It's not just us. It's everybody, and it's so awful.
As you guys can see, what happened in LA with these fires is absolutely ridiculous. It's crazy, and the loss and devastation that's been caused to so many people is out of this world. So in today's episode, we're going to discuss that, have a look at the timeline to figure out exactly how this all started and what exactly happened. And we're also going to have a look at a resurfaced clip of Gavin Newsom boasting about removing water supplies out of California. But let's start off right here to figure out exactly how these fires started, especially the very first one.
The Pacific Palisades, one of the wealthiest communities in the U.S., is experiencing the worst fire in its history. Situated at the foothills of the Santa Monica Mountains, the Palisades typically escape damage as Santa Ana winds blow past, since the winds will usually blow any fire up to the north. However, this time, hurricane-force winds drove the flames directly into the neighborhood, reducing many homes to ashes. On January 7th, around 10:20 a.m. local time, a live camera with Alert California, a UC San Diego program to monitor wildfires and disasters in real time, picks up smoke
you can
rising.
actually see that fire start, and you see the smoke start to billow out of the air. Check this out.
Local time, a live camera with Alert California,
Wow.
a UC San Diego program to monitor wildfires and disasters in real time, picks up smoke rising. This is the first sighting of the Palisades fire. 6 minutes later, Plane Spotter at LAX catches first plumes of smoke on its live stream.
Not what we want to see here in Southern California. Fire has now broke out.
At 10:58 a.m., resident David Hansen received a video from his mother showing thick orange smoke billowing outside her house on Piedra Morada Drive. The fire
crazy.
size was upgraded from 10 to 200 acres, while containment remained at 0%.
We're in the
200 acres. It increased from 10 to 200 acres, and the containment is 0%. Crazy.
Palisades Highlands, and the fire road is literally on fire.
David Hansen drove to reach his mother and recorded the Palisades fire as it burned an entire hillside beside the road. From his mother's backyard, David filmed helicopters dropping water onto the nearby fires. He tells ABC News he saw them hovering over the edge of Santa Ynez Reservoir and were using a hose to draw up water. The fire spread rapidly, and flames encroached on David's mother's yard.
Jeez and
Neighbors
ages,
rallied
bro.
together, using water from swimming pools to fight the advancing fire.
Now, as you guys can see from that clip, I've actually seen a lot of people, a lot of older people, a lot of younger people, people of all ages, trying all types of ways to save their house, save their home, save their belongings, save whatever they can, everything they've worked so hard for their entire life. And one thing that really stuck with me was a really elderly couple. They grabbed their garden hose and they made sure to keep everything wet. They wet their roof, their garden, and surprisingly, their home made it when homes next to them burnt to the ground.
With 2 more zones ordered to evacuate and 3 new evacuation warnings issued, David decided to drive out. But with high volumes of vehicles trying to evacuate, and with 3 road closures on the Pacific Coast Highway, escaping the flames proved to be difficult for residents.
Traffic backed
As
up.
David drives, he films the road filled
Look
with
at
abandoned
that.
cars on Palisades Drive.
People literally abandoning
Firefighters
cars.
are seen battling the flames. David and his mother make it out safe from the flames, and he tells ABC News that thanks to the effort of quick-thinking neighbors, David's mother's home has for now survived.
We're through the fire.
Evacuation shelters are placed around the city, and Governor Newsom declares a state of emergency in California. By night, reports show that the Palisades fire has grown to 1,262 acres, and 2 additional fires occur nearby, Eaton Fire and Hearst Fire.
So those fires were spreading like crazy, no pun intended, but it was spreading like wildfire, because that's exactly what it was. It was a wildfire. And so much so that people literally abandoned their homes, their cars, evacuated, and a lot of those cars that were actually stuck in the road, they had to be moved by a bulldozer. Check how crazy this was. Audi, Nissan, all types of cars. Got to move them out of the road, clear them out with a bulldozer. It goes to show how crazy things. This looks apocalyptic, guys. Absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Windy conditions complicated firefighting efforts.
We're getting a 70 knot wind speed. We're going to have to shut down water dropping operations. Also, cancel that traditional copters.
January 8th.
So right there you guys see there's a lot of issues when it comes to the wind speed, and that made things really difficult when it comes to air supply to actually drop water onto the fires using helicopters. So there's a lot of things that came into this that caused it to be really difficult to actually contain these fires, and we'll find out a few more reasons which probably could have been prevented, but let's keep rolling.
12:29 a.m. Palisades fire size has grown to 2,921 acres and is upgraded to 11,802 by 11:45 a.m.
Unfortunately, we have 2 reported fatalities to civilians. Unknown cause at this time, and we do have a number of significant injuries.
Lydia Fire, north of the 3 active fires, starts around 2:07 p.m. At 5:57 p.m., CAL FIRE reported that the Sunset Fire in the famed Hollywood Hills had started, bringing the total to 5 active fires in the state. The Palisades Fire remained the largest, reaching 17,234 acres by the end of the day, with 0% containment. Weather forecasts indicated another round of Santa Ana winds expected from January 9th to January 10th, with a new high-pressure system building from the north, fueling more gusty winds. The Sunset Fire, which crossed more than 40 acres, was fully contained, but at 3:12 p.m., Kenneth Fire started to burn 50 acres in West Hills. On January 10th, the Palisades Fire has grown to nearly 20,000 acres.
20,000 acres. Wow.
And the Eaton Fire
6%
to nearly
containment.
14,000 acres with 0% containment. Governor Newsom calls for an independent investigation into the, quote, loss of water pressure to local fire hydrants.
Why was there a loss of water pressure, a loss of water in these fire hydrants? Why were these hydrants empty? Why was the water pressure so low that the fire officers and the firemen could not do their job? That is definitely a big cause for concern, and as you guys can see, an investigation is going to be launched into that.
From the Santa Ynez Reservoir, following a Los Angeles Times report that the Pacific Palisades Reservoir had been closed for repairs at the time the destructive fire started. Firefighters across the country, as well as Canada and Mexico, arrived to help battle the flames. Local authorities vowed to find out what exactly caused what is on track to become the worst natural disaster in U.S. history based on costs.
This task force is made up of local, state, and federal partners designed to investigate the cause of these fires and to see if there's any connection between them.
As of Wednesday, January 15th, at least 25 people have died, and more than a dozen others remain unaccounted for. 4 fires are still active, with Palisades Fire covering more than 23,000 acres and 19% contained.
Wow, that's absolutely crazy. You guys can see that these fires have been running for at least a week or more at this point, and they're really difficult to contain, especially when they're popping up in all these other areas. But it does beg the question, how exactly did this fire start? Was it started by someone doing some nefarious stuff? And that's where I actually saw this article. I want to share this with you guys to see what you guys think, because according to this post that I saw on IG, an arsonist suspect claims that he was using a blowtorch to blaze up. Now, I don't know how accurate that is, but I have seen footage of this guy, and the citizens in LA had to conduct a citizen's arrest because they saw him literally lighting things on fire. So a few good Samaritans came out, restrained the guy, and held him until police arrived. And just a quick reminder, guys, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Being Club or cop some merch down in the description below. Now, as I was telling you guys, there's a Resurfaced clip which popped up, which actually shows Gavin Newsom boasting about removing water supplies before this fire actually happened. So let's have a look at that.
The most significant water restoration project, bringing back salmon and steelhead into this basin.
Here's what you used to see when you looked up in the foothills, was crisscrossed fire breaks and fuel breaks. They were all over the hills. And I spoke to a fire chief yesterday who used to work on those teams in the 70s and 80s. And they stopped doing the fire breaks and brush management really initially because of migratory patterns of a mouse. And then because they started convincing themselves that there were other ecological effects of what they were doing. So therefore they could no longer do the routine management, literally, that we did 50 years ago. 50 years ago. So if you want to take aim at climate change, let's say it is climate change.
Before they actually get into that climate change point, I want to raise a really interesting point here, guys. And this is something I've seen reported across a lot of different news outlets, a lot of different social media pages. And that is the undergrowth, the brush. The undergrowth or the underbrush, all the leaves that fall and just sit on the forest floor. In a lot of other countries where they have a lot of wildfires, they actually go through and actively clean all that underbrush. They make sure it's clear so that if there is a fire, it's easily contained. There's not a lot of fuel for that fire, but in this case they actually neglected to clear a lot of that because of what this guy is saying, migratory patterns of a mouse. Absolutely crazy. Let's listen on.
Say it is. What are you going to do about it? Take aim at climate change. Let's say it is climate change. Let's say it is. What are you going to do about it? What's your plan? Let's say it is. Everything you're doing is being undone by fires. What's your plan? And anything but govern is what they're doing.
I first want to throw to this video of Rick Caruso. And for those of you that don't know Rick Caruso is basically a legendary commercial real estate developer who built all of the huge malls of the Pacific Palisades, which miraculously that mall happens to be still standing. He built the Grove, which is a very famous mall there, the mall in, in Glendale, thank you. And here he is, and he ran for mayor, so he could be the mayor right now, except he lost. He lost to Karen Bass. Here he is calling into Fox, talking about, well, you'll see some of the inefficiencies, let's say.
My heart goes out, obviously, to the people with their homes, and I'm watching the small businesses around us go up in flames. This is people's livelihoods, so it's devastating. But what is most concerning to me is our first responders and our firefighters who are trying to battle this. There's no water in the Palisades. There's no water coming out of the fire hydrants. This is an absolute mismanagement by the city.
So no water coming out of the fire hydrants. And Drew, before I let you chime in, let me just throw to a reporter asking Gavin Newsom about exactly that yesterday.
What is the situation with the water? Obviously in Palisades, ran out last night in the hydrants. I was talking to the firefighter on this block. They left because there was no water in the hydrant here.
The local folks are trying to figure that out. I mean, just when you have a system that's...
Bro, you could literally make a meme out of this. Firefighters got places burning down. Firefighters just go home because there's no water in the hydrants. Look at this picture right now. 5 raging wildfires in LA County, 4 with 0% containment. The firefighters do not have the tools that they need to do their job. The water hydrants are dry. The dams and reservoirs are closed for repairs. So I don't know about you guys, but it literally reminds me of this meme. This little dog, that's Gavin Newsom. Everything is fine. We're good. Everything is okay. But the place is burning down. Is it really okay?
It's not dissimilar to what we've seen in other extraordinarily large-scale fires, whether it be pipe, electricity, or whether it just be the complete overwhelm of the system. I mean, those hydrants are typical for 2 or 3 fires, maybe 1 fire. You have something at this scale, but again, that's going to be determined by the local.
Well, that gets to your exact point, that so whether we want to lay all the blame, and obviously there's acts of God, so I'm not sitting here saying Gavin Newsom did all of this, obviously, but whether you want to blame the governmental failures on Gavin Newsom, or you're right, it's a one-party state, so if you want to blame it on the legislature, that's fine. But to that exact point that Donald Trump was making about what you're allowed to do, you made the point previously about what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do because of these ridiculous regulations. Here is Newsom talking about the largest dam removal in U.S. history, and wait till you hear why they did it.
Largest dam removal project in U.S. history, and one of the most significant, if not the most significant, water restoration project, bringing back salmon and steelhead into this basin. This project could not have happened without extraordinary partnerships with tribal nations and, of course, our partners in the North and Oregon. We just finished a celebration with the Secretary of the Interior and our tribal council and tribal leaders, and I couldn't be more proud as a Californian, and I couldn't be more proud as a father, because my kids and their great-great-grandkids will have the opportunity to see something that, well, has been here since time immemorial, and it's about damn time we got this done.
About damn time.
It's about damn time. I'll give him that line. Okay, fine. But this is the point. Do you think California would like to have some dams right now that would keep the water a little bit higher? We're all for salmon swimming upstream, and it's cool watching them jump out of the water and have the bears grab them. But even that right there, it's to your point exactly. And we're talking with the tribal nations and blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe we needed that water.
Anything but the good of the people of this state. Look, Bernie Sanders tweeted this morning something about climate change. And this is all climate change. It's not a hoax, blah, blah. Okay, let's assume it is climate change. Just make that assumption.
Grant them
and
that.
And then something to do with it. Then what are you going to do about it? Your biggest concern should then be the CO2 from forest fires. That should be your number one concern, if indeed climate change. But they only like doing what sounds and feels good, not what is logically good, what is common sense, and what is for the good of the people and is the basic functions of something we call government.
I think you're making a great point that I'm going to reiterate on the show over and over again. Even if, regardless of what anyone thinks about climate change, whether you believe in it or not or anything else, let's grant them that. If you go out there and grant them, okay, fine, it's real. Well, what did you guys do to prevent the thing that's happening right now? You're the governor, you're the president, you've got the legislature, etc.
It's an absolutely fantastic point right there, guys. In a one-party state such as California, it's a super blue state. A lot of issues are at the forefront of their minds, like climate control and protection of wildlife, as you guys can clearly see. When you neglect your duties and fires of this scale break out, what then happens to climate change? All of the smoke into the air is obviously impacting climate change, and the wildlife that you were trying so hard to protect has now disappeared and been burned to death. So to me, it's absolutely crazy. You're trying so hard to champion one thing which is a lot less significant than what's actually happened right now. So it goes to show, when you got some really niche goals and objectives that you're trying to achieve to the detriment of protection of human life, as well as your general obligations that you're appointed for in the first place, you realize your priorities begin to get a little bit out of whack. But I want to find out what you guys think about all this. Drop it in the comments below and let me know what you think. Especially when it comes to the removal of the dams, the empty fire hydrants, the lack of water, all that stuff. Just drop it in the comments and let me know. Because I know some of the things you guys are seeing on social media is absolutely crazy. And speaking of social media, right now there's something crazy going on with TikTok, as it may be banned for over 170 million people in the US. And if you want to find out more what's going on with that ban and how it could potentially impact you and other social media platforms, then check this video out because it's coming up right now.